rockoftalk.com. I'm Eddie Aragon, the Rock of Talk, with me, Tego and Tracy Venturi, the Venturi Real Estate Group from Keller Williams Realty. You can dial them directly this morning, 448-8888. That's 448-8888, or find them at the #1 real estate website here in the state of New Mexico. That's Welcome Home ABQ, welcomehomeabq.com. Tego, Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
Here we are, fall. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Fall, November seems like winter to me. I don't like the whole classification, but yeah, it's like fall.
It does. It's, our fall is different than the fall I grew up with in Michigan. Fall in Michigan starts in August, it seems like. But anyway, yeah, it's beautiful, and real estate's booming. The leaves are falling off the trees. And Here we are talking about real estate.
Lots of leaf piles in the yard, Tego.
Yeah. So Tracy, what do we got today?
Well, we're going to talk about a few things today. One is, what can we expect for the real estate market over the winter?
Yep.
There's been a lot of information about that. And the other thing is we're going to talk a little bit about all the different players involved in the residential real estate world and kind of dive in deep on title.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, anybody that's been doing a certain job or in a certain career or in a certain profession for so long, we develop our own lingo. And over time, we just take it for granted that everybody knows what our lingo is and what things mean. And so we felt like it was important to start really talking about what are the different people relating to the transaction, the parties, right? The players in the whole real estate transaction. So we'll go through that.
Great.
So Tracy, do you get Homes of the Week yet, or do you want to talk about title first?
I can talk about one. It's open today from 10:30 to 12:30 this morning. So like if you're ready to go look at a house, it's in the Vista del Norte neighborhood on Casa Tomas. And it's $285,000 and open today. Vista del Norte, Tego, is the neighborhood that's a very much newer. It's considered northeast because it's east of the railroad tracks, but it's 1109 Casa Tomas, and it's north of Osuna, just west of I-25.
Yeah, so it's Osuna. So, yeah, it's kind of considered North Valley.
It
northeast
is, but
side. It's kind of in between. Yeah,
northeast. So it's open today. 10:30 to 12:30. So if that's of interest, it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. Has a beautiful outdoor living space in the backyard. Yeah. So there's a big outdoor kitchen area that's really quite lovely, and I'm sure that clients will love that with the beautiful climate that we have here most of the year. So that's one I just wanted to point out. But yeah, let's jump into.
Well, and I wanted to just talk about the fact this home's coming on the market. There's a lot of interest for this home. We know that. And I've gotten a few people reach out to me. It's like, what's going on with the market? Is it starting to slow down? Is what's going on? And the short answer is yes, it's slowing down, but there's a but to that, which is it always slows down this time of year, right, Tracy?
Right.
Real estate activity always slows down November, December, January,
February.
Well, and then February is kind of when it starts, getting busier again. It's not like real estate stops though. No. People buy and sell throughout the whole year. It's just that the slower months are right now. And there's still a lot of activity out there. I already looked at the first 10 days of November, of course, in activity. And we're up in the number of homes going pending versus last year. I forget what the number was, but it was like 30%. It was pretty substantial.
So, we've been so frenetic with the pace of buyers trying to find a house and the whole how fast things are finding the right buyer to match to the home that comes up for sale. So we're saying things are slowing down.
Yeah,
They're still pretty frenetic though. We're still up. Things are still really busy. It's just we're not seeing quite as much. So when people say things are slowing down, we have to go, that's sort of relative to, that things are still really busy.
Yeah, for sure. So Tracy, let's just go into this. We want to talk about all the different, we'll call it the players in the real estate transaction. You have, of course, the real estate agent who's kind of the quarterback holding this all together.
Yep.
You've got a lender who's usually, unless it's a cash purchase. You have the title person or the title agent, title company, and that's what we're going to dig into deeper here. But then you also have insurance, you have inspectors, you have an appraiser, could be repair people, there could be other people. Who am I forgetting?
That's the bulk of them. Yeah, that's the majority of the different players in the transaction.
And so there's a lot of people involved there, and people that maybe have never owned a home, bought a home, or maybe people that have owned and bought a home hear this word title or title insurance or title agent. We want to go into what that is, Tracy, and first off, what is title mean? Yeah, what does title mean?
What does title mean? Interestingly enough, we're not lawyers, so what we're talking about isn't legal advice or anything.
For informational purposes only.
Right.
This is not legal advice. Yes.
They're referring, when you talk about title, it's referring to the legal ownership and the legal right to use a piece of property. So we know title, like cars have title, right? And it's to keep track of ownership of the property. So title's like that. But there's quite a few things that title does with regard to real estate. And people go, why am I paying for title insurance? What is it really doing, right? So title insurance, it's a bigger topic. But so we're going to look for past ownership claims. They're going to make sure that you have clear ownership to the title and ownership of that property, so that somebody else can't come after you pay money for it and say, that's mine.
And that's what the title insurance does. So it's you're basically buying an insurance policy that is guaranteeing that when you take ownership of that property, there's no other claims of ownership against that property.
Right. So a lot of times, especially here in New Mexico, a lot of times property gets passed down from generation to generation, and perhaps the original owner's forgotten and the paperwork wasn't done, and the person who's selling the property got it through just the generational changes of that property, and maybe there was never clear transfer, or maybe it was adverse possession. That's one of those things we learn in real estate school, right? Adverse
hardly
possession.
Ever comes up, but
hardly ever. Yeah. Somebody leaves and somebody moves into a property or takes over that property or use of part of the land.
When people hear the term squatters' rights, that's kind of what they're talking about. Kinda. So yeah. So the whole idea,
it's just making sure someone in the past can't come back and take title of the property,
right, and say, "Oh, it's mine."
It's mine. Yeah. So they're insuring you to have clear title.
And so the title agent and title insurance company, they're doing all those searches. They're making sure that you, quote, have, air quote, clear title on the property when you take ownership, and they're issuing an insurance policy saying that you have clear title, and if anybody makes any claims in the future, we're insuring that. And of course there's exceptions, and you want to look through that when you get your what they call title binder. Do you want to just talk about what a title binder is?
So after the property is either listed for sale, or we're going to be listing it, or it's under contract, the title company issues a title binder. And they're going to go back and list all of the things they're finding with regard to that property and make it known. So some of the things that are going to be in there, Tego, some of the things the title company's doing for us is they're checking for liens. Right? Are there any liens against the property? So
meaning somebody having some sort of financial claim or ownership claim, but generally it's a financial claim. So it could be a tax lien, it could be a debt, some other types of debt, it could be a mechanics lien.
Right. It could be for past child support and they placed a lien on the property. It could be the in addition to liens, a different word, the city or county or municipality may have placed some sort of extra tax on the property because of something where they improved the roads or they improved the gas lines in the street and they assessed it, right? So they're going to look for those things also. Also, they're going to look for easements on the property. Does somebody else have the right to use a portion of the property? And that's not that uncommon here, right?
No, and especially places like the North Valley here in Corrales, where you have a road that's a private road that cuts through people's property. That's not uncommon at all.
But most properties in New Mexico have some form of easement on them because most of them have some sort of a utility easement, so that the gas and electric companies have the right to go on the property to take care of electrical or gas lines and things like that. So most of them have about a 10-foot easement just for that. on the property. The other thing is they're going to be working really hard to protect buyers against title defects. And we've kind of covered that. Unfortunately, there are things, that can come up. So doing that title search is pretty important. The other part that they do is they do all the paperwork. So they bring together the buyers, the sellers' paperwork, any costs that were incurred during the process. So they get all the invoices from many companies that did inspections, repairs, home warranties, homeowners insurance policies. They put it all on that closing statement with the debits and credits.
And they prepare the deed, which is the actual document that transfers ownership from one party to another. And the deed is this thing that get filed with the county records showing who's in ownership of that property.
Right. So that's kind of the quick, high level what the title company does in a real estate transaction.
The important part is you need it, you got to have it, and it's a critical part of the whole process. But looking at that title binder, if you're buying a house and going through it and understanding what exceptions or if there's any challenges or issues on that, you know it right up front.
And just one thing, you said you got to have it. You don't have to have it.
That's true.
It is not
It's not required.
But it's something that...
Okay, wait. Let me push back on that. If you've got a loan, if you're getting a loan, the lender's going to require it.
Right. But you can choose it if you're paying cash, but wouldn't you want all that extra protection?
I would never buy a property without it. I would never recommend to buy a property without it, even if it's just a piece of vacant land out in the middle of nowhere, that's $100. You want to make, you have title.
The quick of title.
Tracy, can I talk about market data?
Sure.
It's
very unusual that you have some market data.
No, I real quick, at the beginning, at the top of the show here, I just talked about November. I just want to hit on a couple things that are happening in the market, and one of them is the extreme lack of number of homes on the market. So if you are thinking of selling, and that's our next topic is, selling your home this winter, we feel like it's a good time. I mean, it's the whole thing about when is it a good time to sell. It's a good time when you're ready to sell, right? It's just, there's always going to be buyers. Yes, there's less buyers out there right now. However, home prices have really run up in the last 6 months in particular. I do think home prices have settled down here in the last month or so. But again, things have jumped up 6 to 8% since last year. So there is an opportunity to sell if you're thinking of selling. One of the overhangs that's out there that people keep talking about is these people that are on forbearance programs, meaning they have a mortgage, they haven't paid on their mortgage because they've entered into a forbearance program with their lender. Technically, it's called the loan servicer is who it is. And what that does, it just puts a pause on your payments for however long it is. It can be 3 months, 6 months, up to 12 months. At the very beginning of the pandemic and when these forbearance programs came out, a lot of people jumped into them. I mean, it was a big number. What's happened though since then, a lot of people have come back off it. They're making their payments again and they're moving on. And so there was a lot of speculation that, all these homes would turn into foreclosures. Well, just because delinquency levels are very high right now, meaning people aren't making their payments, that includes the people that are on forbearance programs.
Right.
So they're either going to extend their program or they're going to sell their home, or they're going to just start making up their payments, or they're going to refinance and pay off that underlying loan. So there was a quote from Ivy Zellman, who is Zellman and Associates. They're one of the big trusted national real estate consulting companies that do a lot of analytics around real estate. And her quote was, "The likelihood of us having a foreclosure crisis again is about zero." And there's so many factors to why that is true, and all the different information and data is pointing in that direction. So I just wanted to put that out there.
It's good.
Do we ever know for sure? No. But boy, the evidence sure shows that housing is going to stay pretty healthy.
Right. Speaking of housing, Lawrence Hoon, he is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors.
Smartest man I don't know.
Smartest man you'd like to know.
I'd like to know.
Right behind Eddie.
Yeah. Well, there's Eddie.
Eddie.
Of course. But,
So Lawrence Hoon, we really follow him because his chief economist, great stuff. And it always is very insightful and feels very spot on. You know, if you look back.
Well, he has the pulse on what's going on in real estate, especially in the resale side of real estate, better than anybody in the country.
Right. Well, and that's his job. So
that's his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what he's saying this week. This winter, he said, winter will bring a flurry of activity to the housing market, which, we don't think of winter as a top selling season for home buyers and sellers, right? But we are seeing, I know we started off with some stats that show that through the first 10 days of November, we're up like 30% still, even though people are feeling that it might be slowing a little bit, which would be typical. So he's saying it will be one of the best winter sales years ever. And we truly believe that.
That's a big statement, too.
A huge statement. And if we had more houses on the market, it would be even a bigger winter.
And he doesn't say stuff like that just to pump people up or anything. He will be negative if the data shows that things are negative.
Right. He's saying the typical winter slowdown in the housing market is simply not on the radar, right? And there's reasons for that, right?
Well, we had the great pause, is what I call it, back in, March, April, May.
So we still had more homes sold overall in 2020 than in 2019, even with the great slowdown in March, April, May, right? So we still sold more homes than last year.
And that's true locally here, Albuquerque. He's talking nationally, but that's true here locally as well.
Right. So some of the things he's talking about that weigh into having a great winter, mortgage interest rates are going to remain very low through the new year. Right. So the possibility of rates falling, more is pretty unlikely, but staying low is very likely.
Let me add color to that. So Mortgage Bankers Association, which is the large, kind of like the National Association of Realtors for Lenders, it's MBA, and Mortgage Bankers Association put out their 5-year projections on interest rates, and they're saying maybe by the end of next year, 21, 3.5% maybe. It's there's no indication that interest rates are just suddenly going to start shooting up.
Right. So with regard to the challenge over the winter, the lack of available homes for sale is the challenge. So that creates a great time for people who are thinking about selling to beat the spring selling season, right? We have lots of buyers waiting for homes to come on the market. And, for sellers, getting them on the market before the typical late February, March, April selling season and having them on over the winter while we still have high demand from buyers would make a lot of sense. And he's got that in mind. He's saying, for sellers, they may want to sell this winter instead of waiting for spring, right? Because the buyers are there. We never know what's around the corner, but hopefully we'll get more homes on the market and the buyers that are waiting can find their dream home, right? So it's probably a really good time to sell here over the winter. Market's strong. Interest rates are low. We've got a lot of qualified buyers waiting. So bottom line, he thinks the winter housing market could be bigger than ever, bigger than we've ever seen. Which
Interesting.
We pretty much agree. He's a smart guy, so of course we agree.
No, again, all the indicators that I'm following, when I follow them all, is pointing that direction as well here locally. One of the things that has come up a lot lately is, new construction. How come they're not building more homes? How come we don't have a lot of new construction? Why aren't they building starter homes? Because we have so much demand for these, kind of starter homes, in our case now under 200, let's say, under 200,000. Well, first off, builders can't build a house for under 200,000 in Albuquerque. That's not a thing. They're now, even in, how do I say this the right way?
Where
even
land prices might be more affordable.
In what we would consider the outskirts, the lower price points of new construction, even in those areas, minimum $250, right? For a basic house for new construction.
There's some new construction in Los Lunas that's really beautiful, high quality homes, very close to the freeway for close to the low twos.
Okay.
Right around two. Savage Homes has some. They're 2-bedroom.
Okay.
Very close to the freeway, right by the high school.
Okay.
They started when we visited as a team there.
Yeah.
I don't know, 2-3 months ago. Oh, that's right. You didn't go. I went.
I didn't go. Well, and I guess I was referring to Albuquerque proper, but
But even Los Lunas, you don't think of finding a house for $250 that's new construction.
Right.
But there are some. They have raised the prices probably $10,000 or $15,000 just in the last 3 or 4 months. But we know
that's exactly what I was getting to.
We know that the cost of lumber and labor and a lot of supplies have gone up. The supply chain has really changed what they can spend and afford to put in the new house.
The price of new homes has gone up substantially. For new construction homes has gone up substantially. What's happening right now, I talked to one of the people at one of the well-known builders here. I'm not going to say who, but they're saying right now they're being very cautious on taking new orders right now because they're concerned about being able to fulfill all the orders they already have in the pipeline, because there's supply issues, there's labor issues. They don't have they if you were to go in and put a home under contract with some of these builders right now, they're not even going to start it until February, right? And we're in November right now, so they're not even going to start working on it until then. So we're talking an 8-month minimum build time on new construction right now. On top of that, there was a home, it had sold for, I think the number was $212,000 back 6-8 months ago. Deal fell through. They've put the home back on the market as new construction because the buyer fell through. Guess what it's listed at?
I can't imagine.
6 months later, same exact house, sold for $212,000. It's now listed for $244,000, and they will sell it.
Right.
Because that's how much prices have gone up in new construction. And I'm not trying to bash new construction. New construction is awesome. You get a lot of home for the money. Just understand that you might have a little bit of sticker shock when you look at new homes. It's not like they're trying to gouge people. Their costs have gone up substantially in the last 6 months, year.
Yep.
And we know that personally because
we're
involved in some building, and our costs went up. I think we were at $390 for a build cost. It went up to it was at $290. It went up to $330. Exact same house. It was all just
since we spec'd it and started it.
Right, just materials.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be aware of that. And I think the good news is with low interest rates, with the fact that New Mexico is still very affordable compared to other markets, you're probably still going to be in a good position as if you're going to be in your home for a while.
Right. So
building a new home, it's something everybody's got to do, right? It's pretty cool. You're like, I don't think.
No, it's exciting. We've watched Melissa on our team. She and her husband put a new home under construction to be built in Volterra, which is right by the Air Force Base, and Sandia Labs. And they picked the lot, they picked the finishes, and they've been going there and taking pictures every, once in a while, posting on Facebook. Oh, look, the framing's up. Oh, look, the sheetrock's up.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, and they're almost to the finish line right now. Tego, let's talk about one more step of the process.
Okay.
Of who's involved in a real estate transaction.
Oh, sure.
So let's talk about insurance, home insurance.
Yeah, it's important.
So homeowners insurance is one of the other facets of buying and selling real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So when you buy a new home and you need to put insurance on it, so if you have a lender, it's required, right? The lender wants to make sure that there's insurance so that if the house burns down, the lender's going to get paid off, right?
Yeah.
But homeowners insurance is interesting because it can vary quite a bit what your rate might be based on a lot of things, right?
Yep.
And a lot of times people might want to shop different home insurance companies because they vary a lot. Sometimes they're more motivated. Their prices are different. It's not price fixed. But when you're getting a new home, one of the things that's, how, it's aging myself, but the whole how cars can be like lemons.
Lemons.
A car that's a lemon, you have lots of problems with it. Houses can be like that too. And insurance people will tell you that some houses just have a lot of homeowners claims, right?
Yep.
So when you are buying a new house, one of the steps is to get quotes for homeowners insurance to make sure that the rate you get is acceptable to you. And we have had a few in the last year or two where the client calls to get the rate for the homeowners insurance, whether they already have an agent or they, called three different agents and get quotes or whatever. Where the property has had a couple of big claims and the insurance rates are very high if they can get it at all, right?
And so that's one of the contingencies when you put a home under contract, as we call it, or pending. Basically, you're doing your due diligence. One of the due diligence steps is to get an insurance quote, make sure that the home is insurable at a reasonable rate.
Right. One
of our friends is a very prominent insurance agent here in Albuquerque, actually the number one agent in the state. And he says, as a homeowner, you need to think about when you make a claim and when you don't make a claim.
Right.
Because too many claims on a house could actually affect the resale value of the property.
Right.
It's something to just keep in mind.
Or make it very difficult to get insurance, right?
Exactly.
Which is a problem. So getting that insurance quote, and like I said, they vary. The prices, what are charged varies a lot. And if you have a lender involved, they require you to prepay for 1 full year at closing for homeowners insurance. And that's important because they want to make sure you keep it insured. And then if you have a lender there, every one of your payments typically will be collecting so that a year from now, after closing, when the homeowner's insurance premium is due again for another year, that the money is there and they pay it for you because they want to make sure the house is insured.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the quick on homeowners insurance.
Well, no, that was great. And do you have any more homes of the week we need to hit before we wrap up for today?
I don't.
Okay.
The homes that we were going to talk about are not available.
That's the market we're in still in November. Yeah. Let me give you a couple more stats just to close out the show here. Some of the things that I found interesting. If you look at average selling price, October, it was $291,000. That's average in the Albuquerque area, which is it's not the all-time high, but it's the second all-time high. I think it was August was the all-time high, and this was October. Average sale price. This is average sale price. October 2020 to October 2019. So just the month only, not year over year. 13.7% increase in average sale price.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean prices have gone up that much. It just means the average price has gone up.
What we know is that there's just less affordable homes on the market, so it's making the average higher. Doesn't mean the house actually increased that much.
Right. But if you look at price per square foot, which is a better indicator of that, we're seeing somewhere around 8-9%, depending on what price range the home is in. And the lower price points, it's going up much faster. At the higher price points, not quite as fast. But we are seeing price appreciation across the board in all price ranges in the Albuquerque area. What else do I have? Oh, the number of homes on the market right now is like 1,300, or actually you could pull it up and look. Yeah, it's like 1,300 or 1,400 homes. That's residential properties for sale in our local MLS. And just to give you an idea, I mean, a normal, quote, air quote, normal market, we should have somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000 homes in the market, and we're sitting at somewhere around 1,400 right now. So still, there's definitely room to have more homes come on the market for sure.
And honestly, in our whole MLS system, which houses out of area, there's about 1,500 and on the market, and that'll include out of area where people are choosing to put them in our MLS. It includes all types of homes, manufactured, ranch, condos. So that's very few.
Yeah.
Not a lot to choose from. So,
well, you've been listening. Oh, hey, there you are.
There we are. And Tego and Tracy Venturi, as always, each and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. How long have you been doing it? What number show is this, Tego?
This, let's see, 343? 343.
I marvel at that number.
Wait, how many shows have you done, though? I mean, come on. Are you keeping track still?
It's over 1,700 now. I know that.
Wow.
So,
yeah, well.
Good job.
I haven't gone back and counted, but it's, a lot of shows. I do shows daily.
I know you do.
I'm not even counting the weekend shows.
I know. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're a public service. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for supporting it for 343 shows long. And best way that you can support this radio station is if you're interested in real estate and you're looking to sell your house or buy a house, pick up the phone. Call my friends, Tego and Tracy, 448-8888. That's 448-8888. Or as always, you can find them at the